Good morning, Metalheads Unit. Welcome to a new episode of the Metal Meltdown. And today we're looking at the latest solo album from the one and only Rob Halford, entitled Celestial. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. I fucking hate Christmas. I hate it. I hate how fucking greedy people are this time of the year. I hate the corporate cynicism that is consistently shoved down our fucking throats by Walmart and Sears and shopping malls and restaurants. I hate how busy all of those places respectively are. I hate that you can't go anywhere without somebody shoving Christmas shit down your fucking throat. I hate that the people who really love Christmas can't wait even until December. They can't let the rest of us just enjoy other holidays such as New Year's and Halloween and Thanksgiving because it's all about Christmas, so you gotta shove Christmas down our fucking throats for like 3 months out of the year. And most importantly, I hate the fucking music. I hate Jingle Bells. I hate Deck the Halls. I hate Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I will die very fucking happy if I never hear any of them ever again. They're dated, they're lame, they're repetitive, and they are way, way overplayed. I remember a couple years ago seeing an article where some dude was in a bar and they were playing Black Sabbath and then they switched it to Christmas music and he ended up having like a fucking temper tantrum in the bar and tore the place to pieces. And when I read that article, I didn't say, oh man, that sucks for the bar owner. Oh man, how terrible. All I thought was I have never related more to another human being in all of my fucking life, because that is absolutely what I would do. For all these reasons, it's very hard for me to get excited for a fucking Christmas record, particularly when it's being released in the middle of fucking October. We haven't even made it to Halloween yet, and I'm already having to listen to this fucking trash. But I attempted to approach this album with some hope and optimism because it is being released by the one and only Rob Halford, a literal heavy metal god. As the longtime frontman from Judas Priest, he has released some of the best heavy metal of all fucking time, and it's worth noting that his solo outings, such as Fight 2 and the self-titled Halford Band, have been pretty damn good as well. So not only should this hopefully wash my fucking brain of Mariah Carey and Andrea Bocelli, but statistically speaking, it should also actually function as a decent heavy metal record. But unfortunately, that is not the case. While this is by no means an ill-intentioned or incompetent release from Rob Halford, it definitely isn't even half as good as the worst records from Judas Priest. And unfortunately also suffers from all of the problems that I have with Christmas music, and no amount of heavy metal candy coating can fucking fix that. Let's address the obvious right away. The songs. They're fucking shit. Everyone who's worked on this record, including Rob Halford, simply have not done enough work into rearranging and rewriting these songs to make them interesting, and applying riffs and guitar solos is not enough. It's enough to make it metal, but it's not enough to make it good. Most of the songs just lack any real spark, creativity, any element to separate them from the original source material or to warrant their existence. And the few songs that do make changes don't make particularly good changes. Take for instance Deck the Halls, which tries to turn the signature fa-la-la chant into something a lot more menacing and snarling, but instead it just sounds really cheesy, like a really bad folk metal song. And the killer is they're not even consistent with this change. You've got the first two lines where it is attempting to do what it's attempting to do, and then you get to the third line where it's "Don we now our gay apparel," and it just returns to the original melody, and the guitars follow it quite spectacularly, and then it dives headfirst back into this snarling, nasty, fast, heavy metal shit. And then you have a song like Always in a Manger, which is ultimately just 4 minutes of continuous build-up to a song that never comes forward. Like, with all the moody bass work and acoustic passages and synths on this track, I honestly began to expect Bon Jovi to pop out and start singing Wanted, Dead or Alive. Perhaps knowing that we would feel this way, Halford attempts to spice things up with some original tracks, but these fall pretty flat on their face. The best of these original tracks, and for that matter one of the best tracks on the record, is probably Donner and Blitzen, even if it does lean a little bit way too close to 2005 era Judas Priest, whereas the worst of these tracks is undeniably Morningstar, and in my opinion, one of the worst tracks Halford has ever recorded with any project ever. I have no issue with Rob Halford wanting to spice things up stylistically, wanting to go into softer rock territory, but the route he goes on Morningstar is just fucking lame, almost cringeworthy. It is the most basic piece of white people soft rock you've ever heard in your life. And to say that Rob Halford doesn't exactly fit in here is the understatement of the fucking century. And keep in mind, these are just the songs. We haven't even really addressed the technical aspects of the record or the actual performances. The sound mix, for instance, on this record is really fucking bad. Half the time, the riffs have no fucking weight to them whatsoever. I swear a 3-year-old can throw punches that hit harder than some of these riffs and arrangements. But other times, songs are caked in grease and grizzle to try and make everything seem inherently more metal than it actually is. The aforementioned Deck the Halls in particular really suffers for this. It feels like I'm trying to cut through a really tough piece of overcooked, unseasoned steak. It's all gristle, there's no flavor, and I want my fucking money back. And while I do think that it is genuinely sweet of Rob Halford to want to record a Christmas album with his family and friends, rather than with a professional band, I would say that that has backfired big time, because none of these guys have the fucking chops of Judas Priest, none of these guys have the chops of any musician who has dared to stand alongside Rob Halford in any fucking capacity. They are given nothing to do, and every performance can be perfectly described as average, but competent. If you told me that they were studio musicians hired by the hour, I would absolutely fucking believe you. Unfortunately, Rob Halford emerges from this album as the only thing of quality on this fucking album, and for that reason, I gotta give this a 1 out of 5. This really is a terrible fucking record, and even if this wasn't a Christmas album, it would still be pretty fucking bad, because none of the arrangements are that memorable, their performances are adequate but boring and flavorless and unseasoned, and even the legendary Rob Halford has to really fight his way through a really fucking piss-poor sound mix that does nobody any fucking favors. It is kind of baffling to me that a man like Rob Halford, with so much influence and so many resources within the world of heavy metal, was not able to bring in a great producer and a great band to back him up. I'm not saying he can't record with his family. I'm not saying that at all. He can absolutely still do that. But you know what he could have also done? He could have brought in a guy like Richie Faulkner to help him out. He could have brought in a guy like Andy Sneap to help him out. He could have called anyone from any fucking metal band and just been like, hey, would you like to play drums on this song? Or hey, would you like to play bass on this song? And I promise you they would have gotten on the first fucking flight to wherever the fuck this was recorded, and they would fucking be there. But yes, for the record, the fact that they are Christmas songs hinders this record big time. It's just really difficult to get excited for some of the most overplayed material of all time, even if it does have a semi-heavy riff attached to it. I kind of feel like that's how the majority of metalheads are going to feel. I mean, I'm sure some people will embrace this record, but it'll be more out of a love for Rob Halford than it will be of a love of Christmas itself. I mean, let's be totally honest with ourselves here. The type of people that would actually buy a Christmas record, as in the type of people who genuinely love Christmas, would probably not get particularly excited about a heavy metal version of Christmas sung by an openly gay man. Which ultimately makes this record kind of pointless, because the Judas Priest fans can just go listen to Judas Priest, and the people who really love Christmas music will just go listen to fucking Mariah Carey and Andrea Bocelli, and they'll buy those Christmas records, and they'll play actual Christian music. Maybe they'll get this as a joke gift for somebody, but that's about it. On that same note, that's probably the only reason to actually pick up this record is as a joke gift. You know, maybe you've got a metalhead member of the family, and you stick this in their stocking come Christmas Eve, and they pull it out and they go, oh, that's silly, that's funny. Ultimately making Celestial perhaps the cheesiest and most underdeveloped and most pointless release of 2019. 1 out of 5, a truly fucking terrible record. I love you, Rob, but you fucked up on this one. Plain and simple. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? Thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately, and you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.